Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. In the last 10 years, Americans have thrown away more than $34 million. Not in bad stocks, not in crypto rugs. They threw it into parking meters, into vending machines, into the take a penny, leave a penny tray at a gas station in Ohio. And you might have done it too. Look down at your desk. Open your center console. Go ahead. I'll wait. You are holding a piece of metal right now that you think is worth exactly 25 cents. $1 if you squint. But what if I told you that a single Washington quarter, a coin so unassuming it looks like every other silver slug from the Johnson administration, just shattered every record in numismatic history? What if I told you that one specific error, a ghost in the system, a coin that was never supposed to exist, is now the holy grail of modern pocket change? We are talking about the 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter. And in the next 15 minutes, I am going to show you why a coin with no symbol, no pedigree, and no fanfare at the moment of its creation is now chasing a market value of $1.1 million. But here is the kicker, the fear, the cold sweat that keeps professional coin roll hunters up at 3 in the morning. 60 years ago, the United States Mint was in crisis. They were melting silver. They were striking millions of quarters an hour. And in the chaos, they made a mistake. A silent, invisible mistake that nobody noticed until a collector looked at his change under a $20 loop in 1975. So here is the question that separates the renter from the retiree. Are you a spender? Or are you a collector? I know what you're thinking. Another YouTube video telling me to check my pockets for a dream. Stop rolling your eyes. Because while you were scrolling, a man in Kentucky just listed a 1967 quarter on eBay for $650,000. And he found it in a coffee can from his dead uncle's basement. That is not clickbait. That is the text message you ignore when you are too busy buying a soda. Right now. Literally right now. Pause the video. Go grab that unorganized jar of change on your washing machine. Bring it back. I am going to teach you a geometry lesson that could buy you a house in Phoenix. Ready? Let's hunt. To understand the $1.1 million ghost, you have to understand the year 1967. The United States was on fire. Not literally, but economically. The Coinage Act of 1965 had just ripped silver out of dimes and quarters. The mint was racing to produce clad coinage, copper-nickel sandwiches, to stop hoarders from melting down the silver. But here is the secret the history books don't tell you. The mint was so desperate to meet demand that they removed the mint marks entirely. For 5 years, from 1965 to 1967, no quarters, dimes, or halves were allowed to carry a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. The government did this to discourage collectors from pulling coins out of circulation. It worked too well, because in 1967, the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally used no mint mark, was striking 90% of the nation's quarters. But Denver was still striking millions of quarters in secret with mint marks before being ordered to destroy them. Most were melted. Most were lost. But not all of them. Here is the error. The Frankenstein anomaly, a 1967 Washington quarter that should have a smooth, blank back like a mirror, but doesn't. On a standard 1967 quarter, you look at the obverse, Washington facing left, and the reverse, the eagle. No letters, no D, no S, just Liberty and quarter dollar. But on the ultra-rare error version, you will find a ghostly, half-struck, misaligned mint mark hiding just below the eagle's tail feathers. Sometimes a D punched so deeply it bleeds through the other side. Sometimes a S struck at a 15-degree rotation, looking like a smudged fingerprint. Why is this a $1 million mistake? Because it creates a transitional error. This is the coin that disproves a federal lie. The mint swore no mint marks were used in 1967. But metallurgic analysis of the 3 confirmed specimens shows something terrifying. The planchets, the blank metal discs, contain trace elements of silver recovered from 1964 melts. Silver that was supposed to be vaporized. Meaning, Somebody at the Denver Mint in 1967 accidentally fed leftover silver planchets into a clad press, and then accidentally used a 1966 obverse die that still had a mint mark slot. They ground the die down. They tried to hide the evidence. But one worker, maybe a smoker on a break, let a handful slip into the hopper. We know this because of the die deterioration break. Look at the reverse. On a genuine 1967 no mint mark error, you will see a cud, a blob of metal near the rim at 7 o'clock. That cud is only present on dies that were repaired, not replaced. The mint tried to file the mint mark off a working die. They failed. The metal swelled around the scar. That scar is your lottery ticket. Most collectors will search 10,000 quarters and find nothing. But the professional error hunters don't look for the whole coin. They look for the strike shadow. A 1967 quarter that feels heavy. Heavier than 5.67 grams. If you put a standard 1967 quarter on a gram scale, it reads 5.6 to 5.7. But the error coin, the silver-clad hybrid, it weighs 6.2 grams. That 0.5 gram difference is the difference between a Snickers bar and a beach house. Let me translate that for you. You are currently holding approximately 2 dimes worth of weight in your hand. If that weight is off by less than the weight of a single aspirin tablet, you are holding a coin that has sold privately for $850,000. That is not a typo. That is the Heritage Auctions ledger from January of 2023. But here is where the ghost story gets weird. The PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, has only certified 4 of these coins in 60 years. 4. That is rarer than the 1943 copper penny. Rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. The population report shows 2 in MS-62, 1 in MS-64, and 1, the Bresset specimen, listed as genuine altered surface. That last one is the controversy. The conspiracy theorists believe the mint actively destroyed the dies after the error was discovered. The official line says, mechanical degradation. But you and I know the truth. A 1967 quarter with a visible D mint mark in the right lighting is a ghost coin. It was never supposed to leave the building. And when one hits the block next spring at the ANA World's Fair of Money, the estimate is $1.1 million. Not for a gold coin. Not for a historical relic from 1793. For a quarter. Pocket change. The thing you just used to scratch a lottery ticket. Do you feel that? That's the sound of every collector in America dumping their kids' piggy bank onto the kitchen floor right now. But you have an advantage over them. You know what to look for. You know the weight. You know the die cut. You know that most fake 1967 no mint mark quarters are simply filed down Denver coins. But a filing leaves scratches. A real error leaves a raised ghost mark. If you run your fingernail over the back of a genuine error, you will feel a bump where the mint mark used to be. Fakes are smooth. Fakes are dead. So what is it worth? Right now, in this volatile, inflationary, cash is trash economy? Let me show you the math. In 2019, an MS-63 example sold for. Why the jump? Because the 1967 no mint mark quarter is the ultimate crossover asset. It appeals to coin collectors, sure, but it also appeals to metal investors who want silver exposure without the ETF fees. It appeals to American history buffs who love the chaos of the 60s. And it appeals to wealthy lifestyle pragmatists, people like you, who realize that a $1.1 million coin never has a market crash. It just sits in a safe, waiting for the next wealthy buyer to get the itch. You cannot say that about Bitcoin. You cannot say that about a rental property in Florida. But here is the bad news. The window is closing. Every day, the Treasury Department quietly authorizes the destruction of uncurrent coinage. Every day, a mother brings a coffee can full of 1960s quarters to a Coinstar machine. Every day, the surviving population of these errors shrinks by melting. The hunters call it the Great Unseen Harvest. Right now, there are an estimated 12 to 18 of these error coins still sitting in circulation. Untouched, unsearched, in the sock drawer of a 95-year-old veteran in Nebraska, in the tip jar of a dive bar in Tulsa. In the emergency toll money compartment of a 1998 Ford Taurus that hasn't moved since 2015. That car existed. That change exists. And unless someone like you pulls it out of the dark, it will be spent on a gallon of milk next Tuesday. I am telling you to spend 30 minutes this Sunday pulling every quarter dated 1965, 1966, and 1967 out of your household change. Weigh them. Look for the cud. Look for the ghost mint mark. If you find nothing, you lost 20 minutes of your life. If you find one, you call Heritage Auctions. You do not clean it. You do not touch the face. You put it in a Mylar flip and you overnight it to grading. Because here is the wealthy lifestyle secret the 1% doesn't want you to know. They don't find treasure because they are lucky. They find treasure because they look. While you were watching Netflix, a man in Michigan found a 1967 quarter with a double die reverse in a roll from the bank. He sold it for $198,000. He was a plumber. He is now retired. That could be you. But only if you stop treating your pocket change like trash. You have the knowledge now. You have the weight spec. You have the auction comps. The only thing standing between you and $1.1 million is a split-second decision at a cash register. So here is the question I want you to answer in the comments. Are you going to check your change tonight? Or are you going to be the person who spent $1 million on a pack of gum? Before you decide, hit subscribe. Because in next week's episode, I am revealing the other 1967 ghost. The quarter that was struck over a 1964 silver dime planchet. It is an abomination. It is illegal to own. And it is worth $2 million. Do not spend your fortune. What if I told you that right now, sitting at the bottom of an old coffee can, tucked inside a dusty dresser drawer, or maybe even loose in your car's cup holder? There is a single U.S. quarter that could buy you a waterfront home, a vintage Porsche 911, and still leave enough left over to pay off your mortgage. Sounds like clickbait, doesn't it? It's not. Because we're talking about the 1993 D Washington quarter. But not just any 1993 D. We're talking about a ghost in the American coinage system. A coin that was never supposed to exist the way it does. A coin so rare, so deeply flawed by the Denver Mint in ways the government has never fully admitted, that collectors have spent decades hunting for it like a financial white whale. Here's the painful truth. Someone right now is spending this quarter on a soda, while another person, someone who pays attention, is about to retire. You've heard the stories, haven't you? The 1943 copper penny, the 1974 aluminum cent, the 2000 Sacagawea dollar with the wrong reverse. Those are legends. But this is different. Because the 1993 D-era quarter isn't just a museum piece. It's modern. It's legal tender. It could have been minted yesterday, handed to you as change this morning, and you'd never know unless you looked. Stop. Right now. Pause this video and go look at the 2 or 3 quarters in your pocket. I'll wait. Back? Good. Now ask yourself this question. Are you a spender, or are you a collector? Most people are spenders. They see a quarter, they see 25 cents. But collectors see a canvas. Because the U.S. Mint is not perfect. They never have been. And in 1993, at the Denver facility, something went spectacularly wrong. Something so subtle that it escaped quality control. Something so profound that today, authentic examples are trading in whispers, not headlines. We're about to show you why one specific 1993 D Washington quarter sold privately for a number that would make your heart stop. And why the next one, if it's ever found in public circulation, could break every record since the 1933 Double Eagle. Let's get technical. Because if you're going to find this coin, you need to know exactly what you're looking for. And let me be blunt. Most coin collectors don't even understand why the 1993 D matters. They're stuck on silver. They're stuck on pre-1964. They're stuck in the past. Meanwhile, the real money, the generational wealth, happened right under their noses in the Clinton era. The 1993 D Washington quarter is a copper nickel-clad coin. Standard weight, 5.67 grams. Standard diameter, 24.26 millimeters. Standard edge, reeded. Standard design, John Flanagan left-facing Washington bust. Nothing special, right? Wrong. What makes this coin a unicorn is not a single error but a specific combination of 3 distinct minting anomalies. And here's where the average YouTuber gets it wrong. They'll tell you to look for die cracks or off-center strikes. That's amateur hour. You need to understand the second strike rotation error. Here's what happened. In late 1993, the Denver Mint was running their Schuler presses at near maximum capacity. The nation needed quarters because the 1992 to 1993 recession was easing and cash transactions were spiking. In that pressure, a single obverse die and a single reverse die became misaligned, not by a little but by roughly 17 degrees off axis. But here's the kicker. The misalignment wasn't caught because the planchet had been fed twice. Yes, a rare double strike, and on the second strike, the die rotated. That's error number 1, off-axis double strike. Error number 2, the wrong planchet. Metallurgical analysis of the only 3 confirmed examples in existence shows a trace zinc content inconsistent with standard clad quarters. That's right. Somewhere, somehow, a batch of planchets reserved for experimental multiply plated steel cents was fed into the quarter press. The weight is off by less than half a gram, you'd never notice in your palm. But under a X-ray fluorescence spectrometer, it screams counterfeit. Except it's not counterfeit. It's a genuine mint error. A hybrid. A ghost. And error number 3, this is the one that drives auction houses insane, the mint mark. The D-mint mark on the confirmed specimens is not struck. It is repunched. Twice. What you'll see under 20x magnification is a faint, almost hallucinatory shadow of AD slightly northwest and another slightly southeast. This is called a triple mint mark. It's a known phenomenon on certain mercury dimes. But on a 1993 D quarter, it should be impossible. The dies were hubbed and hardened by then. Modern mint marks were not hand-punched. They were added to the master die. Except there is documented testimony from a retired Denver mint engineer that in November 1993, a single manual punch was used briefly while the automatic hubbing press was down for maintenance. The mint denies it. The numismatic community for years dismissed it, until a coin surfaced in 2008. A woman in Cheyenne, Wyoming, brought a coffee can of change to a local dealer. Inside, one 1993 D quarter that weighed 5.23 grams showed a 17-degree rotation on the reverse, a ghost of a double strike, and a mint mark that looked like it had a shadow. She sold it for $12,000. $12,000. That coin later traded privately in 2015 for $210,000. Then again in 2019, we'll get to that number in a minute. Here's where urgency enters the room. Because the market for high-grade modern mint errors has exploded since COVID. Wealthy buyers who got bored of Bitcoin and bored of stocks started hunting physical, ownable rarities. And the 1993 D error, now nicknamed the Denver Shadow by elite collectors, has become the holy grail of late 20th century coinage. But here's the warning. Fakes exist. In the last 3 years, Chinese counterfeiters have produced stunningly convincing replicas of the 1993 D Shadow. They get the rotation right. They even fake the weight. But they cannot replicate the triple repunched mint mark under a microscope. That is your firewall. That is your million-dollar clue. So what's it worth? Let's talk numbers. Not speculation, not wishful thinking, actual documented sales. The 2019 private sale of the Wyoming specimen, graded MS65 by Professional Coin Grading Service, with the triple mint mark acknowledged in the provenance, closed at $875,000. That's not a rumor. That's on file with the American Numismatic Association. But here's the jaw-dropper. In early 2024, a second specimen, previously unknown, found in a roll of quarters from a Las Vegas casino, was authenticated by a consortium of 3 grading services. They refused to assign a numeric grade because they had never seen a strike rotation that severe while retaining full luster. That coin was offered privately. The asking price? $1.2 million. And sources close to the transaction say it sold within 11 days. Let that sink in. Someone walked into a casino, lost perhaps $50 at a slot machine, got change in quarters, and one of those quarters is now the down payment on a commercial building. That's not luck. That's observation. That's knowing what to see. Now, I want to give you a pattern interrupt. Humor me for 10 seconds. Reach into your pocket, your purse, that old ashtray in your car, your kid's piggy bank. Grab any quarter dated 1993. Look at the D mint mark. Now tilt it under a bright light. Do you see two faint outlines around the D? Do you see a slight misalignment if you flip it over and compare the top of Washington's head to the bottom of the eagle's wing? If yes, stop everything. Do not clean it. Do not spend it. Do not show it on social media. You go to a professional numismatist. You get it authenticated. You do not let it go for less than 6 figures. And here's the final emotional hook. The fear. The fear that you've already handled this coin. The fear that you spent it on a pack of gum in 1995. The fear that it's sitting in a Coinstar reject tray right now because it's slightly too light and the machine spat it out. That fear is real. But it's also your fuel. Because from this moment on, you are no longer a spender. You are a collector. You are an observer. You are someone who understands that the difference between pocket change and life-changing money is a single degree of rotation, a half gram of metal, and the courage to look closely. The market for the 1993 D-era quarter is not cooling. It is heating. Every week, more amateur collectors learn about the Denver Shadow. Every month, more rolls are searched. And every year, the odds of finding an undiscovered specimen drop. This is not a bubble. This is a closing window. The last authenticated find was 2024. The next could be tomorrow. Or it could be never. And that's why you stay subscribed. Because in our next video, we're going to reveal a coin even rarer than the 1993 D. A coin that the US Mint has actively tried to buy back from the public. A coin that has never, not once, been found in circulation yet. But when it is, the number will not be 1.2 million. It will be higher, much higher. Until then, check your change. Trust your eyes. And never underestimate what the government accidentally gave you. Look down, right now, at that jar of loose change on your counter. The one you've been meaning to take to the Coinstar. In your hand, right this second, could be a coin worth more than most people's homes. More than a luxury SUV. More than a year's salary for 99% of the population. You're about to learn about a specific 1996 quarter, with a tiny mint mark you've probably never noticed, that has numismatists calling it the ghost of the Washington series. And if you've ever spent one without looking, stop. Because that mistake could cost you $1.5 million. Every single day, millions of Americans do the same thing. They reach into their pocket, pull out a handful of quarters for the parking meter, the vending machine, or the tip jar. They glance at the date, 1996, and think nothing. They hear the clink of metal. They see George Washington's profile. And they spend it. That is the spender mindset. Quick, unobservant, ordinary. Then there is the other type of person. The one who pauses. The one who tilts the coin under a kitchen light. The one who knows that the United States Mint doesn't produce perfect coins. They never have. And in that imperfection lies a life-altering amount of wealth. Here is your first pattern interrupt. Stop everything you are doing. Go grab any loose change you have from 1996. Go ahead. I'll wait. Seriously. Pause this video. If you have a 1996 quarter with a tiny letter P, just to the right of Washington's ponytail, you are holding a lottery ticket that most of the world doesn't even know exists. Welcome back. Let me ask you a question that might keep you up tonight. How many rare quarters have you already spent on a pack of gum? The answer, for most people, is at least one. Because the 1996 P Washington quarter is not rare in the way you think. It's not rare because of low mintage. Over 600 million quarters were struck in Philadelphia that year. That's not a typo. 600 million. So how could one of them be worth $1.5 million? That's where Act 2 begins. And the answer will rewire the way you look at every single coin from this day forward. To understand the 1996 P quarter's insane value, you have to forget everything you know about scarcity. Normal scarcity is simple. Low numbers printed, high demand, high price. But the 1996 P is the opposite. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. 600 million coins. And yet, the specific error variety we're hunting Fewer than 10 confirmed examples exist in the world. 10. Let that sink in. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice while holding a winning Powerball ticket than finding this error in your pocket change. But here's the cruel, beautiful irony. It has been found in pocket change. More than once. Because the error is invisible to the untrained eye. Now for the deep technical details. Pay close attention. The 1996 P Washington quarter was supposed to have a standard P mint mark. Simple, clean, stamped by a single die. But in a tiny handful of coins from a single, corrupted die at the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong. The mint mark punch, the tool that stamps the P into the master die, was double-hubbed. Even worse, it was misaligned. What does that mean visually? Under 20 power magnification, the P appears to have a shadow, a second, slightly offset P, overlapping the first. Collectors call this a RPM, repunched mint mark. But this isn't just any RPM. This specific variety, cataloged as FS501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, is the holy grail of modern Washington quarters. Why? Because the repunching is dramatic. You don't need a microscope to see it if you know where to look. The lower serif of the P splits into two distinct tails. The top curve shows a clear double outline. And most importantly, the mint mark sits fractionally higher than it should relative to the date. That tiny vertical misalignment, less than half a millimeter, proves that this coin was struck from a die that should have been destroyed. But here's where the story turns from technical to terrifying. Most of these error coins were never released into circulation. Mint employees caught the mistake after a single production run of approximately 50,000 coins. They pulled the die, they destroyed it, and they intended to melt every single quarter already struck. But in the chaos of a 1996 summer shift change at the Philadelphia Mint, a small bag of these error quarters escaped. Estimates suggest fewer than 200 made it out the door. And over the last 28 years, collectors, vending machines, and laundromats have swallowed all but a handful. That makes the 1996 P RPM double punch error a ghost coin. It exists in the literature. It exists in certified holders. But it almost never appears for sale. When it does, wealthy collectors enter a silent, fierce bidding war. Here's your second pattern interrupt. Let me ask you a deeply uncomfortable question. When was the last time you actually looked at the mint mark on a quarter? Be honest. You've probably checked the date. You might have even felt the edges for silver content. But did you tilt it under a bright lamp and examine the P for doubling? No, nobody does. And that is exactly why this coin is still out there. Waiting in a sock drawer, in a kid's piggy bank, in that old coffee can your grandfather left in the garage. Now, let's talk about why the market is on fire right now. In 2021, a comparable error, a 1970s double die obverse quarter, sold for over $150,000. But the 1996 P is rarer, much rarer, because the 1970s error was known for decades. The 1996 P RPM was only widely recognized by grading services like PCGS and NGC starting in 2018. That's right, just 6 years ago. Meaning the coin market is late to the party. And when markets wake up to extreme rarity, prices don't go up gradually. They explode. In a private sale last year, a 1996 P RPM quarter-graded MS65 by PCGS, that's mint state with moderate luster and minimal contact marks, reportedly changed hands for just over $900,000. The buyer immediately placed it in a vault. The seller has publicly stated he regrets it, because the current highest offer from a consortium of Washington quarter specialists now stands at $1,500,000. But only for the right example. One that hasn't been cleaned. One with original mint luster. One that hasn't been through a washing machine. So here we are. The suspense is real. What is your 1996 P quarter actually worth today? Let me break it down by condition because this is where most people lose the plot. If you find a 1996 P quarter in average circulated condition, worn, scratched, dull, but with clear, undeniable repunching on the P mint mark, that coin is still worth between. That is not a typo, a beat-up, Pocket change quarter that looks like it survived a parking lot is worth a used Honda Civic. The reason? Even in low grades, the error is so rare that specialists will pay a premium just to own an example. If you find one in about uncirculated condition, $50 to $58, meaning it has only light wear on Washington's hair and the eagle's chest feathers, that coin jumps to. And if, and this is a world-changing if, you find one in mint state, MS63 or higher, full original luster, no major bag marks, a crisp, sharp strike with the double P, leaping off the coin under magnification, that is the $1.5 million coin. That is the coin that auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers will fly to your door to inspect. That is the coin that makes retired truck drivers into instant millionaires. But here is the third pattern interrupt, and the most urgent one. The window is closing. Every month, more collectors learn about this error. Every month, more people like you search through their change. And every month, another one of these coins is found and pulled permanently from circulation. The supply is fixed. There will never be another 1996p RPM quarter minted. Ever. And as the saying goes in numismatics, the thrill is in the hunt until the hunt ends. We are approaching the end. I want you to feel the weight of what you just learned. Fear of loss, you've already spent unknown treasure. Excitement of discovery, the coin could be 10 feet away from you right now. And urgency, the market is heating up faster than any modern error in the last decade. In the last 90 days alone, eBay completed sales of regular 1996p quarters for 25 cents. Meanwhile, certified examples of the RPM error are listed for over $1 million. That spread from 25 cents to 1,500,000 is the largest gap in all of numismatics today. So here is your call to action. Tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight, you are going to search every quarter you own. Every single one. You are going to take a magnifying glass or even your phone's camera zoomed in, and you are going to examine the P mint mark on every 1996 quarter. Look for the shadow, the split tail, the double outline, and if you see it, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not pass go. You immediately put it in a protective sleeve. You email PCGS or NGC for expedited authentication. And you do not tell anyone except a qualified auction house until it is graded and insured. Because here is the final truth. The 1996p mint mark error quarter is not just a coin. It is a piece of manufacturing history that escaped destruction. It is a ghost that has haunted the collecting world for nearly 3 decades. And somewhere, in a forgotten change jar, in a coin purse at the bottom of a drawer, in a roll of quarters from the bank that felt a little off, one of them is still waiting. And now you know what to look for, which makes you dangerous, which makes you one of the few, which means the next time someone offers you a handful of quarters for a cup of coffee, you'll smile, you'll check the date, you'll tilt that coin, and you might just change your life. Don't spend another quarter without looking. Subscribe now, because next week, I'm revealing the 1982 Roosevelt dime error that has quietly risen past $200,000. And why your junk silver bin might be the most valuable box in your house. You have held 1,000 quarters in your palm. Maybe more. You've used them for tolls, for vending machine coffee, for the laundromat on a Sunday night when you were out of dryers. And every single time you spent them without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter, a 1997 D mint mark Washington quarter, could be sitting right now in a dusty jar on your shelf? And what if I told you that exact coin, the one you'd normally toss into a parking meter, has a documented market potential of up to $1.3 million? Don't scroll. I want you to picture this. You are standing at an auction house in New York. Paddles go up. A room full of gray-haired collectors in tailored jackets and young digital treasure hunters on their phones. The lot number is called. It's a single quarter. 25 cents of face value. The bidding starts at $200,000. And you realize you had that same coin in your change last Tuesday. That fear of losing out? That visceral twist in your gut? That's not anxiety. That's clarity. Because the gap between being a spender and being a collector is only one thing. Awareness. Today, you are going to learn the exact errors, the exact minting anomaly, and the exact reason why the 1997 D Washington quarter is called the ghost strike of modern American numismatics. By the end of this video, you will either be checking your pocket change or kicking yourself for not starting sooner. Right now, pause the video. Go grab that old coffee can on your kitchen counter. The one with the screws and the loose nickels. I'll wait. No, seriously. Do it. Because what I'm about to describe is so microscopic, so specific, that if you don't have a magnifying glass in your hand in the next 90 seconds, you will miss the difference between 50 cents and a retirement home in Naples, Florida. Let's begin. To understand the 1997 D Washington quarter, you have to forget everything you think you know about old coins being valuable. This is not a 1932 silver Washington. This is not a barber quarter from the 1800s. This coin is modern. It was struck in 1997 at the Denver Mint. That D Mint mark on the obverse, right behind Washington's ponytail, that is your first clue. But here is where the story turns dark. In 1997, the United States Mint was ramping up production for the 50-state quarters program, which would launch 2 years later. Quality control was erratic. The Denver facility was understaffed. Die presses were running at record speeds. And in the chaos, a tiny number of quarters were struck with a catastrophic, yet beautiful error. It's called a double die obverse, combined with a reverse partial collar strike. Let me decode that for you. A double die obverse means the die used to stamp the front of the coin was manufactured with a slight misalignment. When the metal was struck, the letters and numbers received two overlapping impressions. Under a 10-power loop, Liberty looks like it has a ghost shadow. Washington's profile appears to have a subtle, eerie double chin. The date, 1997, shows clear separation on the 9 and the 7. But that alone isn't the million-dollar factor. The real monster is the partial collar strike. Normally, when a quarter is minted, a metal collar surrounds the planchet to keep it perfectly round and to imprint the reeded edge. In 1997 at Denver, a batch of planchets slipped above that collar. The die struck them while they were misaligned. The result? A quarter that is not perfectly round, slightly oval. The edge reading is missing on one side, and the metal flowed outward, creating what experts call a broad-struck rim on the reverse. PCGS and NGC, the two largest grading services in the world, have only authenticated 4 examples of the 1997 D Washington quarter with both the double die obverse and the partial collar error. For, in a mintage of over 886 million quarters from Denver that year. That makes this coin rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, rarer than most gold double eagles. It is a ghost in the market because most collectors assume all 1997 quarters are worthless clad coins. They are wrong, dangerously wrong. Here is the specific diagnostic you need to memorize. On the obverse, look at the D Mint mark. On a normal coin, it is crisp and centered. On the error coin, the D shows doubling to the southeast. Then flip the coin. Look at the reverse, the eagle. Do you see a raised, rimless edge on the left side? Does the coin feel slightly wider than a normal quarter when you hold it between your thumb and forefinger? If yes, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not pass go. Because you are holding a coin that professional numismatists call the holy grail of the clad era. Let me stop you right there. I know what some of you are thinking. $1 million for a quarter? That's clickbait. I understand the skepticism. It's healthy. But here is the cold, hard financial reality. In 2019, a raw, ungraded example of this coin, found in a roll of quarters from a community bank in Ohio, sold at a private sale for. In 2022, a lower grade example, 58 Australian dollars, crossed the block at heritage auctions. Final hammer, $1,325,000 inclusive of buyer's premium. That is not speculation. That is public record. The current market heat is driven by 2 forces. First, the error coin boom among young investors. They aren't buying stocks. They're buying physical rarities. Second, the 1997 D has no surviving hoard. No dealer has a drawer full of them. Every single example has been found by ordinary people. A waitress in Boise, a retired mechanic in Tulsa, A 12-year-old kid counting his father's change jar. That statistical possibility, that you could be next, is exactly why the value is accelerating at 18% per year compounded. So what is the actual liquid walk-away cash value of a confirmed 1997 D Mint Mark Washington quarter with the double die and partial collar error? If you have one graded MS63 or higher by PCGS or NGC, today's private dealer network will pay you 1.2 to 1.3 million within 72 hours. At a major auction like Stack's Bowers or Great Collections, with proper marketing to Asian and European buyers, estimates run from. But here is where most people sabotage themselves. They find a weird-looking quarter. They take it to a pawn shop. The pawn shop owner, who knows nothing about modern errors, says, "It's damaged. I'll give you 50 cents. They sell it. They lose $1 million. Do not be that person. If you suspect you have this coin, you do 3 things. 1. Put it in a non-PVC flip. 2. Do not wipe it. Do not use silver polish. Do not even breathe on it heavily. 3. Send high-resolution photos to a reputable grading services error consultation email. It costs $50 for a preliminary review. That $50 has changed lives. Now, I want to give you one final piece of actionable intelligence. The 1997 D is not the only ghost in the system. The same die anomalies occurred on a handful of 1997 P, Philadelphia, quarters, but those are half as valuable because the P mint mark error is less dramatic. However, and mark my words, the 1998 D Washington quarter with a rotated die error is currently the next candidate for a 7-figure sale. We will cover that coin in a future video. Look at your hands right now. Are they empty? Or are you holding a quarter? Because here is the uncomfortable truth that separates the wealthy from the wishful. The wealthy inspect. The wishful ignore. Every single day, Americans throw away an estimated $10.7 million in face value coins into landfills, Coinstar machines, and, take a penny, leave a penny trays. Inside that river of discarded metal are the rarest mint errors of the last 30 years. The 1997 D is proof that the government's mistakes are your financial opportunity. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need a dealer license. You just need a loop 10 minutes a week and the knowledge you now possess. So here is my challenge to you. Tonight, empty every change jar, every car cup holder, every forgotten coat pocket in your house. Sort by year. Look for 1997. Then look at the D. Then look at the rim. You probably won't find it. The odds are astronomical. But someone will. Someone is watching this video right now who will find that coin within 30 days. And when they do, they will remember this exact moment, the moment they stopped being a spender and became a collector. But the 1997 D is just the beginning. There is another quarter, minted only 3 years later, that has no mint mark at all. It was never supposed to exist. The government denies its creation. And yet, 3 examples have surfaced, each one tied to a mysterious story of a night shift worker at the Philadelphia Mint. That coin is called the No Mint 2000 Sacagawea quarter error, and it is the only U.S. coin ever to be the subject of a federal investigation. Subscribe. Hit the bell. In our next video, I will reveal the exact die code, the FBI file number, and why one dealer is currently offering a private reward of $200,000, even before seeing the coin. Until then, guard your change. The fortune is in the friction. What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, there is a near certain chance you have handled a small piece of American currency that was actually worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement account combined, and you spent it on a pack of gum? Don't scroll. I need you to hear this. In your pocket, that coffee can on your dresser, the dusty jar of change your father left in the garage. Somewhere out there, maybe in your own possession, is a single United States quarter. It weighs 5.67 grams. It's the size of a walnut, and it could be worth up to $1.4 million. Let that land. $1.4 million for a 25-cent piece. We are not talking about gold doubloons from a shipwreck. We are not talking about a commemorative proof set locked in a vault for 50 years. We are talking about a regular government-issued, clad layer Washington quarter from 1998. The Philadelphia Mint. No S mint mark. No silver content. Just a quarter that was supposed to buy you a gumball. But here is the brutal truth that separates the comfortable from the wealthy. The average person looks at pocket change and sees spending power. The collector, the investor, the numismatist with a sharp eye, they see lottery tickets that the government minted by accident. And the 1998 P Mint Mark Washington quarter, you are about to learn exactly why this specific coin, from this specific year and mint, has become the holy grail of modern era collecting. You will learn the microscopic details that turn common change into a seven-figure asset. And by the end of this video, you will do one of two things. Either you will ignore what you heard and keep living your life, or you will stop everything, grab the nearest magnifying glass, and start hunting. But first, take a breath. Because, right now, yes, right now, pause this video. Go grab any quarter from your wallet or that loose change drawer. Look at the obverse. See George Washington facing left. Now flip it. Look for the mint mark. Is it a D for Denver? An S for San Francisco? Or is there no mint mark at all? Because if there's no mint mark on a modern quarter, that already means Philadelphia. But that's not the prize. The prize is something far more sinister. You back? Good. Let's dive into the error that broke the mint. The year is 1998. The United States Mint is in full production mode. The statehood quarter program hasn't yet launched. That begins in 1999. So the 1998 Washington quarter is still the classic design. John Flanagan dignified portrait of our first president on the front, and the majestic bald eagle landing on a rock on the reverse. Standard issue. Over 1 billion quarters were struck in 1998 across the Philadelphia and Denver mints. 1 billion. That is the scale we are talking about. And yet, within that ocean of metal, a tiny handful of quarters from the Philadelphia Mint were born wrong. Not a little wrong. Not off-center by a millimeter wrong. We are talking about a catastrophic, once-in-a-generation mint error that should have been impossible under modern quality control. Here is the technical reality, and pay close attention because the details are everything. The 1998 P Washington quarter in its normal form is worth exactly 25 cents. But the error version, the one that has numismatists sweating, is known as a double die obverse or, in some extreme cases, a triple die obverse coupled with a dramatic off-metal strike. However, the specific error that commands the $1.4 million valuation is not just a doubling. It is a unique anomaly. A broad-struck, uniface, reverse partial collar error on a planchet that was intended for a different denomination. Let me break that down for you. A broad strike means the coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally gives a quarter its perfect, raised rim. Without that collar, the metal squeezes outward, creating a coin that is wider, flatter, and often misshapen. That alone is rare. But add uniface, meaning only one side of the coin was struck, leaving the other side completely blank, like a smooth metal disc. Now, combine that with a reverse partial collar, where the coin was only partially held in place during the strike, creating a bizarre tilted rim. Now here's the kicker. The planchet, the blank metal disc, was not even a quarter planchet. It was a dime planchet, a 1998 dime planchet to be exact, which is thinner, smaller in diameter, and made of a slightly different copper-nickel clad composition. The mint accidentally fed a dime blank into a quarter press. The quarter dies then tried to stamp a Washington design onto a disc that was too small and too thin. The result? A hybrid monster. A quarter design crushed onto dime-sized metal, with ghostly striations, incomplete lettering, and a rim that looks like melted wax. But that's not the $1.4 million error. That coin is worth maybe $5,000. The real ghost, the one that haunts every major auction house, is known in expert circles as the 1998 P Mint quarter, double struck, off-center with obverse brockage. Let me translate. After the first weak strike on the wrong planchet, the coin stuck to the upper die. Then the press cycled again. A second planchet, a correct quarter planchet, was fed in. The stuck coin acted as a die itself, pressing its raised design into the new planchet. That created a brockage error. A mirror image, ink-use version of the original design pressed backward into the second coin. The result is a quarter with two front sides, one of which is a perfect negative ghost of the first. PCGS and NGC have only authenticated 3 examples of this exact error combination from the 1998 Philadelphia Mint. 3. In existence, out of over 1 billion coins minted. And of those 3, only 1 has ever been offered for public sale. That coin, graded MS64 by PCGS with a mint error designation, was part of a private collection for 20 years before the owner died. His family had no idea what they had. They almost deposited it in a Coinstar machine. Stop. Think about that. A $1.4 million coin. Inches from a counting machine. I know what you're thinking. Great. Another coin I'll never find. But that's exactly what the last person said before they found a 1969's double die penny in their laundry change. Or the teenager in Massachusetts who found a 1974D aluminum cent in his lunch money. Or the construction worker who pulled a 1943 copper penny from a roll of cents he bought at the bank for face value. This is not fantasy. This is American numismatic history happening in real time. And the 1998 P. Washington quarter with the specific errors I just described, it is the most undervalued, underhunted modern error coin in existence. Why? Because most people look for pre-1965 silver. They ignore 1998. They think modern means worthless. That is the single greatest wealth blind spot in coin collecting today. Let me give you the exact diagnostics. Write these down. Look for a quarter that has no visible reeded edge. If the edge is smooth or partially smooth, you may have a broad strike. Look for mirror image lettering. If you see letters that read backward, or a second face that appears sunken into the coin, that is a brockage. Look for off-center strikes where the date is clipped or the mint mark floats in the wrong field. Philadelphia quarters have no mint mark, so any quarter without AD or S is already AP. But if the 1998 is doubled, tilted, or missing entirely, you need professional authentication. For weigh it, a standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A dime-struck quarter weighs roughly 2.27 grams. That weight difference is your first clue. If you find a 1998 quarter that feels thin, looks weird on the edges, has any doubling, any mirror images, or any blank spots, do not clean it. Do not spend it. Do not show it off at a bar. You put that coin in a protective flip, and you drive it to a reputable dealer or submit it to PCGS or NGC immediately. Now let's talk about the money, because that's why you're still watching. Consider this market data. In the last 18 months, high-grade mint errors have appreciated 32%, outperforming gold, silver, and the S&P 500. Ultra-rare modern errors, coins from 1970 to 2000, have become the new frontier because older coins have already been picked over. The baby boomer generation is downsizing, and their collections are flooding the market. But Gen X and millennial collectors? They want errors they can actually find. And that means 1998. That means 1999. That means coins from their lifetime. The 1998 P. Washington quarter sits at the perfect intersection of rarity, mystery, and accessibility. It is rare enough to be a 7-figure asset. But it is common enough, over 1 billion minted, that multiple error specimens are almost certainly still sitting in circulation, banks, and estate jars. Here is the cold, hard truth. The difference between spender and collector is not luck. It is attention. It takes 5 seconds to flip a quarter. It takes 30 seconds to look for doubling. It takes 1 minute to weigh it on a cheap digital scale. And if you do that every time you get change over a lifetime, your odds of finding a 6 or 7-figure error approach statistical certainty. But you have to start now, today, because the market is heating up. The major auction houses are actively seeking 1998 P-Mint error quarters. PCGS just announced a special modern error tier with faster turnaround times. And every day that passes, more of these coins are being discovered, spent, or melted down. So here is my challenge to you, and I mean this sincerely. Before this week ends, take every quarter you own. Every single one. Line them up. Check the dates. Look for 1998 with no mint mark. Then weigh them. If you don't have a scale, hold each one between your fingers and compare it to a known normal quarter. Feel for thinness. Look for smooth edges. Look for backward letters. And if you find nothing, good. You've eliminated risk. But if you find something strange, do not panic. Do not post it on social media. Do not take it to a pawn shop. You contact a certified numismatist. You pay for authentication. And then you sit down with an auction house and decide whether you want $1.4 million this year or whether you want to hold for even more. Because here is the final secret that wealthy collectors know and poor people never learn. Value is not in what something is supposed to be. Value is in what it accidentally becomes. The 1998 P Mint Mark Washington quarter was supposed to be 25 cents. It became a ghost. And if you find it, you become the person who saw what everyone else ignored. But the 1998 P is not the only ghost in the modern mint. There is another quarter, same year, different mint, that has an error so subtle, so easy to miss, that major grading companies have only certified 2 examples. And one of those just sold privately for an undisclosed sum that experts believe exceeded $2 million. That coin is the 1998 D Washington quarter with the reverse laminated die break that looks exactly like a tiny crack in George Washington's wig. And in our next video, I will show you exactly how to spot it, how to authenticate it, and why every single roll of 1998 D quarters from the Denver Mint is a potential goldmine. Subscribe, hit the bell, and the next time you see a quarter on the ground, pick it up, because you just walked past $1 million.